Hello, viewers. Welcome to the next episode of uCast Talks podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking about quality assurance, more specifically about quality assurance in the context of OTT platforms. So we'll touch topics like, of course, testing, what are the objectives, and we'll go a little bit deeper into this topic. So we'll talk about specifics as well, and we'll talk about what is the impact of quality assurance on the whole over-the-top system performance and business as well. And as usual, I have a guest today. Our guest today is very involved in the QA process. He works as a QA engineer at uCast. So our guest is Jerko Majcen. Jerko, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. The pleasure is mine. Okay, so before we go into the podcast, if you like this, if you're watching this, make sure that you like the show, because this helps us be more visible on the YouTube and other social media channels. Also, subscribe to the channel so that you'll be notified by the algorithm when we upload the next video. Well, with that under the way, let's go into the podcast. So, Jerko, I think it will be interesting for our viewers to hear your professional story. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the field of QA, and how is this all related and connected to the OTT platforms where you're working now?
Mm-hmm. So my interest in QA in general, it is a bit funny story, because even when I was a kid, when I was playing video games, I was annoyed by bugs in those games. So even as a teenager, I was always typing bug reports to developers, not knowing if those bugs will be ever seen. But my interest in QA just grew over time, because when you look to the application, there are not a lot of there are always bugs in application. You always find something as an end user. So my interest in QA just grew. And because there is no dedicated school or college for QA, my first job was as business analyst, where I came in touch with QA, because as business analyst, you are responsible for the application outcome. So I started, of course, also testing it. After that, I decided to go full into the QA. So I got a job as a QA engineer at Computer Systems, where I got in touch with OTT in general. After that, I wanted to switch profession, well, not profession, but field. So I went into sports industry, but I'm not such a sport fanatic. So I decided to return to the OTT industry at uCast. So, well, here I am today.
Excellent. That's so interesting how things sometimes in the professional career happen, especially if they have some, let's say, if you can connect some private interest or some things that you were working on privately with job. That's when I think you are more equipped to thrive in job as well, right?
Yes, I think that when you have an interest in one field, it's always great. If you have interest in one field in your private life, it's always great if you can do a job in that field, because when you have a joy doing what you do in private life, and then you get it in professional life, I think those two things combined can really lead to something much better in professional field. Even today, I'm older guy. I'm parent. I'm father. I'm husband. But I still have sometimes time to play video games, and of course, I still write those bugs reports.
Yeah, excellent. I can agree with that. Um, if when we let's now go into the QA topic a little bit more, but maybe some of the viewers may not be familiar with the whole QA, the quality assurance. So, can you first uh, talk about the function of QA more general?
Mhm.
And maybe what's the role of the QA in the development process for the OTT platform?
Mhm. So QA in general is sometimes is referred to as last defense before it reaches out to the customers. So we act as how to say it, guardians throughout the OTT
Yeah.
platform development lifecycle. It's not only our job to minimize impact of bugs and find those bugs and find different solutions maybe to those bugs, because QA often works together with developers to bug resolutions, also with product teams about new ideas and how to approach new ideas from the testing perspective. Our main mission is to deliver flawless user experience to the end users. Of course, there are a lot of techniques and tools that can be used to achieve that goal. For example, like test cases, test case creation, test cases, scenarios, test execution, of course, issue reporting, and as I said before, collaborating with different team members from different teams, for example, with front-end developers, back-end developers, system administrators, product delivery team, project managers, designers also, because QA job is not only testing. There is a always how to say it, little joke that software testing is just one part of quality assurance process. So quality assurance is a much larger process than just testing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So, but how does the QA maybe differ when you are and we are working in the OTT world? So, are there any specifics that are specific uh, for the OTT platforms? What would you say?
Oh yes, there is a really big difference. For example, when I was working as a business analyst, I started also testing it. I was working on one major project with Croatian Waters about, and it was only web only application, but it was purely functional testing and data
Mhm.
testing. OTT platform, for example, really. For example, if you have application, you install it on your mobile device, you use it, for example, like Airbnb, WhatsApp, an application we use
Mhm.
on daily basis. But for example, for OTT, you install it, but you rely on streaming content. The main purpose of OTT application, of course, is providing streaming to the end user. That includes various content like live TV, radio, or video on demands. And of course, for that to happen, you need to have a stable internet connection. So we also in OTT industry we test how platform behaves under different under various network conditions. For example, if you go from faster internet to slower internet, or if you for some reason lose connection to the internet, uh, then platform needs to function flawlessly across various ranges of devices, smart TVs, smartphones, tablets. Of course, it's not same if you have your application on some older Android device and some newer flagship Android device. Also with iPhones, if you have some older iPhone, of course, it depends on operating system, on operating system version. And of course, you need to have data protection via digital rights management or DRM. So that also needs to be checked. And for me, the main difference between testing OTT and how to say the regular application is automation. Uh, Automation is a process where you want to speed up your testing process. And if you want to automate, for example, live player, how do you automate if video and audio are synced, or if subtitles are synced with audio? So those are things that can be managed through automation, but I think that testing OTT platform requires both automation and manual testing methods to achieve your final goal to have a great application.
Excellent. Well, that was a lot of information, and so I assume that's related. I mean, that's definitely related to your vast experience in this field. So, but let's maybe take a step back and think about why are we doing all these things, right? Why do we bother testing so much? And I will dare to say that we're doing this to achieve high user satisfaction, customer satisfaction. Of course, when you have a satisfied customer, this leads to business success. So, but the question for me is, given your experience, what are the biggest challenges from the QA side to actually achieve this high user satisfaction when talking about OTT platforms?
There are a lot of challenges, of course, and for us to ensure the high quality user experience and, of course, operator satisfaction, we need to be in line with fast evolving technology, because every day you have a new device. For example, iPhone practically releases new iPhone every year. Operating systems, content formats, of course. Rapid development cycles, so you need to keep pace with frequent updates, new feature releases. Of course, with new technologies come new challenges. You need to adapt to those new challenges. You have, for example, a lot of Android manufacturers for mobile phones. Samsung, Huawei, there is just a couple that I mentioned. And of course, when you have an OTT platform that can reach to any part of the world, when you have clients all across the world, such as we do, you always have to keep in mind that some users can have older phones, some users can have newer phones. It's just not mobile phones, it's also tablets. Different formats, different resolutions of tablets, different speeds of tablets, have a different internet speed in those areas. So yeah, there is a lot. There is a really big global scope where you need to have all those information known to you, and you need to really keep pace up with all those information.
Okay, thank you. That was interesting.
Yeah. Can I just mention just one more thing? What crossed my mind?
Yeah.
For example, also if you are working, you have application for different parts in the world. You also need to be careful about localization of our software. So in our field, there is also localization testers. They often are from the native country that application is being used. So they switch, for example, from English language, in our case, to Croatian language, and needs to be grammatically correct, needs to have cultural appropriateness. And so there is a lot to consider when you are working in OTT industry.
Yeah, Jerko, that's interesting because I do have a question related to that. So it's interesting that you mentioned this here, and I did imagine that localization, especially when you have a system that spans across continents and cultures, plays a huge role, right? You can have everything technically working perfectly, but then let's say if languages and different formats are wrong, the end user experience will simply not be good, right?
Yes, right. Every language has its rules. You cannot directly translate from English to Slovenian or Croatian. You need to translate it in the spirit of the language in which you want to place your application. That is why companies usually hire native speakers with language background, so
Mm-hmm.
linguist background. That is something that companies usually do. For example, Apple use that a lot. So
Mm-hmm.
they hire a bunch of QA localization testers just to have them translate not only applications but Apple products, Apple pages. When you go to any web page, you always have that drop down to select your language, right? So in
Yeah,
most
yeah.
cases, yeah, in most cases, you can select your own language, and it will be really clear for you what some company wants to say, or how to use the application, or how can you, in general, use anything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a broad field.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so in the next section of questions, I mark this as, let's say, questions which are a little bit deeper, a little bit more specific. So let's say we want to cover topics that are useful for people who are already familiar with the QA. And the first question I have about this is if you can maybe describe and elaborate the different types of testing that you are doing on the OTT platforms. Something like functional testing, performance testing, if you can
Mhm,
mention those groups and what is under these groups, why do you do this, etc.
mhm, mhm. In OTT industry, we mostly as QA do functional testing. So we want to verify that core functionalities like login, content browsing, playback controls, for example, search, you want to search some content, you want to play some content. So all those areas need to work flawlessly across, of course, different devices and platforms. You want them to be synced on all your accounts. For example, if you have smart TV and you have mobile device, you want them to be synced on your profile. So also that is one core functionality that needs to work. Performance testing is something that is really how you use platform under various network conditions. So you measure in factors like loading times, how much time when you play live TV, how
Mm-hmm.
much time needs to pass before you receive a signal and can watch play live TV. Not only when you want to watch the live TV, but when you change channels. We all use television on daily basis. We don't want that content to be loaded for 10 seconds or more, right? We want
Mm-hmm.
like 1 second maybe difference, even faster. We want faster time. Buffer behavior. So if you, for example, lose connection to the internet or internet speed drops, you also need to have, for example, YouTube has that resolution change. We also in our application have a resolution change. So, for example, if internet connection drops, we just switch to a lower resolution, but user can still watch content. I think that is really great and important for some user experience. Um, then also in our field as OTT, we do testing methods. One is smoke testing, other is regression testing. Smoke testing is a test that you, how to say it, it's quick test which you do after each release to check if application is working as intended on major breaking points. So, pardon me. So, for example, as I said, login. Smoke test can cover login. Smoke test covers if live is working. Smoke test covers if VOD is working. You do not go deeper into the application, but you want to check those major breaking points where some things can break. So you don't want to have any blockers before release. And regression testing is done before each major or minor release. In most cases before major releases. After, for example, you have the application, you add new feature. Okay, so when you add a new feature, you want to check if the rest of the application is working as intended after this feature was introduced. So that is why we use regression testing. Regression testing goes really deeper into the, for example, login process. When you log in, you type in username, password. Okay, I'm logged in. But regression testing asks, what if you type in wrong username, correct password, correct username, wrong password? Both are not correct. What happens if you do not accept terms and conditions? You get the picture. So you really, with regression testing, go really deep into the application to find those sometimes really edge cases. There is also compatibility testing. So as I mentioned before, you want to check and ensure that platforms, platform operation, it's working as intended across different devices. So for example, as I said, you have smart TV, you have mobile phone, you can maybe add another mobile phone or tablet, and you want to have that assurance that application is working as intended on all platforms. Also, what can be done in OTT industry is compatibility testing. That ensures seamless platform operation across different usability testing. I mixed up. Usability testing is when you observe how real users interact with your application. That helps us to identify areas of confusion where maybe users are not familiar with how we intended the application to work. And that is great because you get a lot of feedback from the end users, and companies often use, for example, what it's called A/B testing process. So group A has older version, group B has newer version, group B is of course smaller group, but you get a lot of information for that smaller group if your application is behaving like you intended to, if it's clear, is it user friendly, is user experience great? If it's not, okay, you know what you need to change. And if it does, great, you have that control group, you can release it on a major scale.
Excellent. Again, a very thorough answer. So very good. So when you were explaining this, I was thinking, what is the biggest challenge? I mean, from what I know, maybe I'm correct, or maybe I'm not. I will just tell you what I think. So if you would ask me, and I'm not an expert, let's say ensuring compatibility in OTT must be one of, if not the most difficult one, because of so many devices, isn't it? Or what would you say?
Yes, of course. I mean, we are all working in this industry, but we are all in the end users for someone else, right? So we all use applications on daily basis. If you have a problem with some application, let's take, for example, WhatsApp. It's a major messaging platform, right? Okay, you have issues, you have problems with it. What will you do? You will switch to another one, another messaging system like Messenger for Facebook or Telegram or any other application that you want. So you really need to have, what I wanted to say, users have different
different options,
Yes.
and different mobile devices.
In mobile devices. And of course, if I have, I don't know, iPhone 12, I wanted applications to run on it as good as it is running on iPhone 15. And that is me as an end user wants that to happen. And of course, company needs to involve into that process to have their products really accessible to larger number of people, not just that smaller, how to say it, people that have newest devices and newest flagships. So
Yeah.
we all want that experience from as an end users.
Excellent. Yeah. So you mentioned before the localization topic, and I want to touch this again because I think it's really important. So, as we mentioned this before, OTT service more often than not spans over different regions, over different time zones. It involves people speaking different languages. They come from different cultures, especially if you have something that's worldwide. And even if it's like, say, continent-wide, it touches different
Oh, yes.
categories of these people, yeah?
Yeah.
So, and I would imagine that this is a big challenge for QA, for testers. Since I assume you have experience with this, what would you say, what are the most important considerations when you're testing for localization in OTT platform?
So I would say that translation accuracy, that is really important. For example, when you have a book that is written in English, okay, you want to translate it to Croatian. You cannot have everything directly translated from English to Croatian. So you need to have someone that will translate it in, how to say it, in spirit of your language.
Yeah.
So you have to verify that translated text maintains its original meaning. And of course, cultural contexts. You have to ensure visuals, imagery, references that how to say it, resonate with target audience in specific regions. So, for example, that English book, if you translate it to Slovenian, Croatian, or German, it will have, of course, same meaning as in original book in English, but you will have those little tweaks in the language translation that will be specific for your areas. Different nations have different, for example, sense of humor, different meanings for same words. So you really need to have that cultural appreciation for some area. Also, there is a lot of date and time format adjustments. We do not all follow 24 hours time. Of course, we have AM, PM, adapting date, time. That is
Okay.
something that is really
Mhm.
important in localization testing.
Yeah.
Um,
So the QA here basically plays also the role, some sort of product management feature in terms of coming
yes,
close to basically delivering the product that feels and looks like the something that's been made for that specific client,
yes,
for that
yes.
specific user.
Because we as end users, we all want to feel a bit special, like someone really took a job and tailored experience to our needs. That is something that I find also important when you want to achieve great user experience.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so like 7 or 8 years ago, I was contacted by Apple to be a localization tester, and I said, okay, let's try it. They gave me the test to try it. It was like you really have to know your language. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that localization testers, as I mentioned before, are people with a linguistic background. That is
Yeah,
something that is
yeah.
really important. You need to have great vast knowledge of grammar and of course how to translate something in the spirit of your language.
Okay, perfect. So let's switch gears a little bit. I want to now change topics slightly and touch future, or maybe even go a little bit into the business side, just talking about what are the benefits. So Why does somebody want to do QA? Why do we want to invest in QA? Do we want to work in QA? So at the end, what are we getting out of QA, right? What are these benefits that that we can extract for the user? We touch the user experience. Maybe how does this contribute to business success? So, question for you is simply like this: how does a robust QA strategy and execution contribute to the success of the OTT platform? What do you think, Jerko?
Uh, well, when you have testing strategies, you really want to minimize bugs and performance problems. You want that smooth launch experience. So you want to reduce risk of launch issues. Also, you want to focus on improved user experience, to proactive identify and try some resolution of issues, and that can lead to a more positive and engaging, of course, user experience. We as I said, we as end users, we do not want faulty application. We want that user experience, and of course, through engaging with user experience, you want enhanced to enhance user satisfaction. A high quality platform will, of course, have it fosters user retention and loyalty, of course, of OTT operators. And of course, if you minimize bugs before launch, it reduces the post-launch support costs. So fewer bugs and issues translate to lower burden on customer support teams. And in general, it brings out much bigger satisfaction, not only from end users, but of course your clients, which are operators. And we all want to stay in the field and have it as many clients and operators as we can manage. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So you mentioned the user satisfaction, right? We mentioned this many times on this podcast already. So it is very important, of course, because at the end, of course, it is super important. It's a precondition for any business success, for any brand that has certain reputation needs to take very close care about the user experience. But you did also mention the business. You did mention the operator, the business owner. So having a bug-free, easy to use, easy to understand platform is important, of course. But I would like to dig a little bit deeper into that. So what would you say, can you put yourself in the shoes of the OTT operator? And also something which will be easier in the shoes of the platform vendors such as uCast. So what would you say what are the benefits of good QA first for the OTT operator? If you maybe summarize what you already said, and maybe why would the vendor, the developer, why it is in the developer's interest to have a very strong QA?
So, as an OTT operator, of course, you want to reduce the risk of launching platform with critical problems. That is, you will always have those bugs that will slip through your hands because important lesson when I was reading some QA books, they always start with you cannot always test everything. Things will pass, things will slip through your fingers. You want to minimize that bugs that's slipping through your fingers. So and of course throughout the, as I mentioned before, throughout the various QA methodologies and techniques, you can really minimize those bugs and problems. And with that process, you are in a basics, you are protecting your brand reputation, because you want to work for a company that is really known for quality, that is known for good product. Because when you have that company that is known, for example, in OTT industry, you will gain more clients, because everyone in the end will want to work with you. And you, by having great product, you also gain user trust. And that is really something that is really, really important in our field, but I think in any field. And from a perspective of platform vendor, it is to identify and resolve issues before the platform reaches end users, so before it goes live. And you want to avoid potential post-launch complications. That is why working together creates a strong and collaborative relationship between operators and vendors. That is something that is really important in our field, because in the end, you want to provide great OTT experience to 5,000, 500, 5 million end users. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
yeah. So somehow working, it's not a one way street.
no,
So the collaboration goes between operator and vendor back and forth to
back
test,
and forth.
to
Yes,
catch all the
exactly,
problems. Yeah,
exactly.
that is important. Yeah. Okay, so this was very interesting, Jerko. And as the last topic, I would like to address some of the QA professionals that may be watching us. QA professionals, maybe their managers. So people like you, the same profession as you. So, and I'm wondering, what kind of advice do you have for QA professionals, aspiring QA people who are interested in working in the OTT industry? So, what is your advice for them? What would be your advice?
Well, I think you can apply this not only to OTT, but to anyone who wants to be QA engineer. Is really, you need to stay curious. You need to have that thirst for technology, to be tech savvy, to be passionate about technology. And in our field of OTT, it is constantly evolving. So staying updated on new trends and tools is really crucial. You need to learn to have patience and to deal with unexpected situations, because there are always some things that can go wrong, and you really need to have that patience to go through it. Often QA is a team that is go-to team when someone wants to ask questions about the applications, because as we are testing the whole applications, we have really broad knowledge about all parts of the application. And in that process, you need to be proactive, you need to be inquisitive. It is better not to wait to bug to happen. If you can try many roads to that bug that can be in that case, you can solve that bug before it even happens. So you need to really try many different roads that can lead to issues. Um, and for that also, you need to have strong analytical skills, the ability to analyze data, to identify pattern, troubleshoot issues. That is really, really important. I know maybe it sounds all like, okay, that is a lot to do, but believe me, when you are systematical, when you have tools that can help you, when you have protocols that can help you, it's really, at least for me, really enjoyable, enjoyable journey. Of course, when we talk about tools, I must mention automation, because automation can help you optimize repetitive tasks. and free up time for some exploratory testing. As I mentioned, many different roads that can lead to same issue can be achieved with exploratory testing. And also, what is maybe for me one of the most important things is communication and collaboration. So we need to understand in team that we are all, how to say it, on the same side. We all want great product. We all want to be successful. We want, at the end of the day, we want to come home and be proud of the application that we are working on. So strong communication and collaboration skills are key to that success. QA professionals on a daily or weekly basis needs to effectively communicate testing results and collaborate with developers and other departments to resolve issues and come to some conclusion and maybe come to some solutions. Not only technical side, but as I mentioned at the start of our podcast, also with the designers, because sometimes designers do design something, but when you test it as a QA, you see it is not maybe user friendly. It will be maybe better to switch position of even one button that can be really have a great impact on your application and final outcome. I think, yeah, those are the key elements of QA.
This sounds great. Yeah, that's very useful. And I was thinking, when you're in QA, this is just like my naive vision of this. When you test something and you put it out, is it true that then no news is good news? Do you actually want feedback? Because if it's feedback coming to QA, it's usually not going to be good, or is it going to be good?
Yeah, sometimes it's it's joke among QAs. I was working throughout the years that when everything is working, no one praises you, but if something is not working, everybody blames you.
Yeah, that's the
But
unfortunate reality of this. Yeah.
yeah, but on the other hand, having feedback is a really great thing to get, because you can, with feedback, you can only improve yourself. If you are doing something for 3 years without feedback, I think that something is wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. So wonderful. This brings us to the end of the show today. Once again, Jerko, thank you for your insights. It's really useful. And I wish you lots of success in your daily work. And of course, keep up this good work for us and for our customers.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure talking to you and
pleasure
to
is mine.
listeners. Yeah, thank you.
And viewers, if you have any questions, any additional questions, please send us questions in the comments below the video. Also, let me remind you again, if you find this useful, if you want to be distributed through the YouTube even more, give us a like, subscribe to the channel. This will just help us improve our visibility so that we can put even more effort into producing these shows for you. And yeah, with that, I conclude. Thanks for watching. See you next time, and bye-bye.